Hello, callers, and welcome back to Viva Barca. Welcome to another interesting episode where we are going to be discussing on the latest stories. We start with Ferran Torres, as it has been reported that Aston Villa are interested in signing the Barca forward, you know, as they have proposed a 25 million euro loan to buy deal. We are going to be discussing on that as we progress. Then, secondly, talking about Girona defensive midfielder Oriol Romeu, as it has been reported that Barca have made contact for the signing of the La Liga midfielder with 10 million euro termination clause. We are also going to be discussing on that. So guys, as we get right into the full stories, please do ensure to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, turn on the post bell notification to always stay notified whenever I post a new video. Consider liking the video and please watch it right up to the very end. With Barcelona eagerly trying to get rid of Ferran Torres this summer, Mundo Deportivo is now reporting that Aston Villa are interested in signing the Spanish forward on loan with a buy option worth 25 million euros. Ferran Torres arrived at Barca in January 2022 in a deal worth 55 million euros from Manchester City. However, his time at the club thus far has been anything but memorable. The Spaniard has failed to make any kind of impact expected and is not a regular fixture in Xavi's lineup. Given his disappointing returns and Barca's need to clear out some players, Torres has been available for a transfer this summer, with the club hoping to receive around 40 million euros from his departure. But Torres has been reluctant to leave the club, despite receiving offers from the Premier League. Newcastle United, for one, have been touted as a potential suitor for the Spanish international. Now, Aston Villa, too, have shown an interest in signing the 23-year-old versatile attacker. Torres' links to Villa had surfaced when it seemed like Matteo Alemany would be leaving Barcelona to take over the director role of the Premier League club, but he performed a U-turn and stayed put. But it seems as if Unai Emery's side have retained the interest in Torres even after that. As mentioned earlier, they would like to sign the Spaniard on loan this summer with a permanent purchase option worth 25 million euros. However, such an arrangement does not appeal to Barcelona, who would rather offload Torres permanently right away, that too for a sizable offer. At the same time, the player's reluctance to leave could also be a hurdle in the transfer progressing. But given Barca's desperate need to lower their wage bill, they might change their stance while the player himself could consider a departure, considering that he will have very limited game time next season. Of course, Ferran Torres has been one of those players that have been highly criticized by many fans, especially for by his performances last season, and many have called out for the club to sell him right away. But so far, Barca have failed to sell any single player, and there's a lot of concern in that, knowing full well that we can't sign any more players unless we sell the out of favor players. Ferran Torres, no doubt, have been one of those players that have been touted to depart Barcelona with immediate effects. But despite the attempts, despite the offers coming from Premier League, like Newcastle United have been offering 40 million for the player about two times, the player have resisted a departure, saying that he wants to stay, he wants to succeed, as you would expect any of those players to say. None of them have accepted that they understand the club and they want to leave. And now this report claiming that another Premier League side, Aston Villa, offering the player a loan and a 25 million euro buyback option. You know, it's still very complicated because the player as it stands does not want to leave the club. But Barca wants the player to leave on a permanent deal. Barca would prefer a permanent deal, not any loan deal. But when we look at things critically, the fact that Barca are so desperate financially and the fact that Barca really are in serious need to clear out some of these names from their wage bill, I think if push comes to shove, the player might leave. Barca might push him to go, even if it's on a loan deal, because I think if they don't do that, we can't sign any more players. We can't sign any more players. Players like Ansu Fati, Frank Kessié, Eric Garcia, Clement Lenglet, Umtiti. I mean, most of those players who were on loan as well have been linked with an exit. But so far, Barca have failed in their attempts to look for suitors. Barca have failed in their attempts to sell them. And so far, no matter the transfer targets, whatever that we have been talking about, Barca can't successfully get their hands in any of them unless they sell these players and have that big space in the wage bill to accommodate and register those new signings. I think the only official signing that Barca have made is Ilkay Gundogan. Ilkay Gundogan. So I don't know if Barca are waiting for maybe the dying minutes of this transfer window before they can start rushing up and down to do business, to sell, to buy. Honestly, it hasn't been good, but we hope that things will change. Of course, after Laporta went to Qatar last week to, in a bid to boost our revenue stream by selling Barcelona's brand name to a Qatari side there, so that they can give them about 100 million euros, which will help the club to sign players. I think that might also be a big boost for us in the transfer window. So let's see what happens to Ferran Torres as well as other players who have been linked with an exit. As Xavi himself is still to communicate with them, because there are players like Ansu Fati who have said until Xavi communicates with him before he can be convinced that he might leave. If Xavi says, okay, you are not part of my plans next season, that is where some of them might be like, all right, if the manager can say this, then what is the essence for me staying here next season when game time will not be guaranteed? Then moving on to the next story of discussion, why Barcelona continue to make serious efforts to try and sign Brozovic. They are also preparing contingencies in case the Croatian does not arrive. As such, Girona midfielder Oriol Romeu has been identified as a low-cost option if the efforts to bring Brozovic goes in vain. And now Mundo Deportivo is reporting Barca have already made contacts to sign this 31-year-old midfielder Oriol Romeu. And even though he's considered only a fallback option if Brozovic doesn't come, Romeo has a release clause currently at 10 million in his contract with Girona, but Barca's local rivals Girona could be willing to lower that price tag, potentially even by half, if an interesting player is offered to them as part of the operation. Romeo, a former La Masia product, is understood to have always dreamt of wearing Barca's shirt again and has informed Girona that the only club he would want to leave for is Barca. So Girona would be willing to make the transfer so easy if there is further progress. A move for Romeo would also mean that Barca get a player familiar with the club's philosophy, while his valuation would also leave some money in the club's coffers to invest in a new right back. So guys, with that, we have come to an end of this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.